My name is Sarah, and my story is one of struggle, sacrifice, and an undying dream to rise above the life I was born into. I came from a lower middle class family where every penny mattered and every wish had a price. My father, John, was a steel mill worker. His hands were always rough, his clothes always smelled of metal and sweat, yet his heart was full of love. He worked tirelessly, never once thinking of himself, just so I could complete my education. I knew what his hard-earned money meant. It was not just for my survival, but my future. I promised myself I wouldn't let his sacrifices go to waste. Even though we lived in a small, aging house in an old village, my dreams were never small. I wanted to be successful, to build a life where my family would no longer struggle. And so, after finishing my studies, I decided to take a step forward. I wanted to learn about business. I wanted to change our fate with nothing but ambition. In my heart, I left my village and moved to the city. I knew no one, had no wealth, but I had determination. I found a job in a small cafe, starting as an order taker. The pay was little, the hours were long, but I didn't complain. I worked hard, learning everything I could. 2 years later, I became the manager of that very cafe. During that time, I met many people, made valuable connections, and one of them was Sandy. She was a regular customer, always kind, always smiling. We became close friends. She was different, rich, carefree, and full of life. I admired her confidence, though I never told her how much I wished for a life like hers. After 3 years of working tirelessly, I finally saved enough to open my own cafe. Excited and hopeful, I told my boss about my plans, expecting support. But instead, he fired me on the spot and warned me never to return. I was devastated. I had given my all to that place, and in return, I was discarded like I meant nothing. Left a message for some of my regular customers, telling them I had left. When Sandy read it, she immediately called me and asked me to come over. When I arrived at our home, I was speechless. I had never seen such a grand mansion in my entire life. I couldn't stop looking around, taking in the beauty of a world I had never known. Sandy noticed my reaction and smiled. "Sarah, are you okay?" she asked. "Yes," I replied, trying to gather myself. I've just never seen anything this beautiful. We sat down, and she asked me why I left my job. When I told her about my dream and how my boss had reacted, she listened carefully and then asked, "What do you need to start your cafe?" I hesitated. "I have my savings. I can open a small cafe. I just needed some guidance." Sandy leaned forward. "Do you know who I really am?" she asked. I looked at her, confused. "Sandy, I know you're from a wealthy family," she chuckled. "Sarah, my family owns over 40 restaurants across the state, and I personally own several pubs in this town. Our business is nationwide. You don't have to worry. I can help you." I was stunned. "Sandy, that's incredible. But I don't need financial support. I just wanted guidance." She smiled and shook her head. "Sarah, look at yourself. You've sacrificed so much, your dreams, your happiness, all for the sake of your family. And now you think a small cafe will be enough. Let me invest in you. Let's open a pub." Tears welled up in my eyes. "I don't have words to thank you. You don't need to," she said. "Just focus on the business." With her support, I opened a pub. Sandy held 75% of the shares, but she handed me full control, making me the owner. The business flourished, and within 3 years, I owned multiple pubs and cafes. I moved my family to a better home and finally gave them the life they deserved. Then, something unexpected happened. One night at my pub, a man named Dani approached me, offering to buy me a drink. I declined at first, but over time he became a regular. He was persistent, charming, and eventually we became close. I fell in love with him. Things were going well until Sandy returned from an overseas trip. She came to visit me at the pub, and when Danny saw her, he greeted me loudly. But when Sandy turned to look at him, her face went pale. Danny, too, looked stunned. Without a word, Sandy left the pub. I was confused. I called her, but she wouldn't answer. I kept trying until finally I decided to go to her house. When she finally agreed to see me, I asked, "Sandy, what's wrong? Why are you avoiding me?" She looked at me, anger flashing in her eyes. "Sarah, who is that man to you?" "He's my boyfriend," I said hesitantly. She let out a bitter laugh. "Your boyfriend? Do you even know who he really is?" I frowned. "Sandy, he's a businessman. He owns a pharmaceutical company." Sandy shook her head. "Sarah, he is my ex-husband. We divorced 4 years ago." My heart dropped. "What? Why?" She took a deep breath. "Because he's a drug dealer. His so-called pharmaceutical company smuggles drugs. He was arrested multiple times. He ruined my life." I was in shock. "No, he wouldn't. You have a choice, Sarah," Sandy interrupted. "If you want to be with him, I will walk away. No business, no friendship. It's him or me." I was torn. Dani had never told me about his past. I loved him, but Sandy had given me everything: her trust, her support, her friendship. I spent the whole night thinking. The next day, Dani called, but I didn't answer. Instead, I sent him a message: "Don't call me again." I chose Sandy. Dani tried to see me, to explain himself. He pleaded, saying he had changed, but I couldn't take the risk. I had sacrificed so much in my life, my childhood, my dreams, my comfort, and now I sacrificed my love. It hurt. But I knew it was the right choice. Sandy appreciated my decision, and we continued to work hard together. My business grew, my family thrived, and I finally achieved my dreams. But deep down, I never forgot Dani. He was a part of my past, a love. I had to let go. Success came at a cost. And in the end, I learned that sometimes sacrifice isn't just about what you leave behind. It's about what you choose to hold on to. And I chose my future.